PA Empowerment Network is a game changer, uniting individuals with shared goals to support and uplift each other, providing resources, mentorship, and a sense of community. Empowering people means giving them the tools and confidence to thrive and create positive change in their lives and communities.
All right. Welcome to the Empowerment Network. My name is Kendall Stevenson. I'm the host. This show is called Politrics. Now, I'm here today again with my analyst, Mr. Ronald Yates. What's happening, Mr. Ronald Yates? How you feeling today?
I'm good, brother. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Now, for all those that don't know, Ronald Yates is from Genesis Radio, as you can see in the marquee, and he comes from Reasons for Reasons, and that's on Thursdays at 6 to 7. This evening, we're going to get into some politics. We want to talk about that big, beautiful bill that Trump is proposing. I got a little video. Maybe you want to check it out before we decide to discuss it, my brother. All right, here we go. Hold on.
That House Republicans are trying to jam down the throats of the American people.
The House cleared the massive package with only one vote to spare. It funds the president's top priorities from defense and energy to border security, including the wall. It also extends his 2017 tax cuts, boosting the child tax credit to $2,500, establishes $1,000 Trump savings accounts for newborns, and adds populist proposals the president campaigned on, like no tax on tips or overtime. But to pay for the roughly $4 trillion measure, the bill mandates at least $1.5 trillion in spending cuts, including reforms to Medicaid with new work requirements set to take effect by the end of next year.
All I want is one thing, 3 words. We don't want any waste, fraud, or abuse. Very simple. Waste, fraud, abuse. Other than that, we're leaving it.
The bill also slashes about $267 billion from SNAP, or the Supplemental Food Assistance Program, which includes food stamps.
You campaigned on lowering the price of groceries. How do you justify cutting food assistance in this bill?
Let me just tell you, the cut is going to give everybody much more food because prices are coming way down. Groceries are down.
Is that what you're seeing when you go to the store?
No, ma'am. I usually buy the 5 dozen eggs to last for a month.
Yeah, it sounds like Trump is up to his usual BS again. You know what I'm saying? With those lies. Well, what do you think about this big, beautiful bill, brother?
Well, the big, beautiful bill is just a big lie, like pretty much everything else Trump proposes or says, right? There's a lot of stuff hidden in this bill. Like in your clip, you showed where there would be a alleged tax break for childcare. There would be some increase there, some other little things aimed at the poor and working class. In reality, this tax cut, and I think it's going to be about 10 years is the length of this bill. Over that time, this tax cut will initially, and I'm talking almost immediately, be about a $700 increase to working class and poor people. The top 1%, the wealthiest Americans and corporations, will see a tax break somewhere in the neighborhood of about $389,000. So for a corporation like, say, Amazon, if you look at the tax records of corporations like Amazon, each year, they get a tax refund, hundreds of millions of dollars given to them, despite the fact that they pay so little in taxes to begin with. And over the life of this bill, this tax cut, which will actually be a tax increase, will gradually rise each year, so that those people that are struggling right now are going to be struggling a lot harder as this, as time progresses. And the other thing is, or should I say one of the other things is, analysts have already said that this bill is going to raise the federal deficit $25 trillion.
Damn.
25 trillion, right?
Damn.
And the other thing that's hidden in this bill that the Republicans aren't really talking about, there's a provision in the bill where Trump wants to be indemnified against being held in contempt of court. That's part of the bill where he's asking the Republican Party to sign a bill that says he cannot be held in contempt of court.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
well, you know, every department that has gone up against him, they shut him down already. They pretty much shut him down. If anyone can go against them, they shut him down. How are we going to fight this, man?
Well, the reality is that the Republican Party should be, I guess, to put it simply, they should find their cojones and they should step up, because this bill is disastrous. It's disastrous for working class and poor people, and it's going to be disastrous for the Republican Party come the midterm elections. Because once this bill goes into effect, and I have no doubt that it's going to clear the Senate, once this bill goes into effect, you're going to see drastic cuts to programs like Medicaid, Medicare, and as you know, you highlighted in your clip, supplemental nutritional programs, SNAP and others, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Now, if you think about it, when the market was doing so poorly in April, and I think that was the worst period for the market since the Great Depression, President Trump went on air and told the American people that you're going to have to be patient, that there's going to be some pain, right? But it's temporary. Well, you tell the American people that, well, you're going to have to tighten your belt, you're going to have to feel some pain, but you just took a $400 million gift from the government of Qatar, a government that you said supported terrorism by supplying Hamas with, I guess, funds and weaponry. Then you hold a state dinner at your golf club in Washington, D.C. for cryptocurrency enthusiasts who are investing in the president's own cryptocurrency.
That's right.
Now, years ago, Trump said that,
isn't that illegal? Isn't it illegal to use the office to gain money?
It is. In fact,
that's kind of like extortion, kind of like what he's doing in Vietnam. He's extorting them.
Well,
telling about this golf course.
Well, that's one of the things that Trump does, extortion. And if you look in the Constitution, there's a clause called the Emoluments Clause, which says specifically you cannot receive gratuities from foreign governments. And of course, he's violated that on several fronts and continues to violate that because there's really no one to stop him. Those departments within the Justice Department that would investigate things like political corruption, but he's gutted those. He's fired a lot of these seasoned prosecutors. He's fired them, right? So that the Justice Department basically has no one to prosecute. And some of these other departments, that would specifically look at things like insider trading and other financial irregularities, well, he's gutted them as well, so that there's nobody to stop the wolf from stealing all of the stores out of the barn.
Well, this wolf came in sheep's clothing, and a lot of people voted for him. But I really don't think that this is what people voted for, man. I mean, look, he's gotten the Medicaid situation. I mean, just here in Pennsylvania, what is going to affect like 3 million people? That the hell with them? I mean, it's getting to a point, man, where something or someone, like you said, the Republicans, they're gonna have to step up with some balls, man, or something. Yeah, I love Jasmine Crockett and what she's doing, but that's on the Democratic side. But we still need some more people to come in, the righteous whites, and they need to come in, man, and start acting like Americans, man, and putting their foot down about this guy and the Constitution.
Well, the thing is, the Republicans are so afraid of Trump. I'm not sure if I totally understand why. Because if you look back over some of these recent elections, like the one in Wisconsin for the Wisconsin Supreme Court, the Democratic candidate won. Here in this state, in Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, there are a number of local races. Pretty much all of them have been won by Democrats. No one right now wants to have Trump standing next to them on a podium, right?
Right.
Nobody right now is calling the name Donald Trump as it relates to their reelection, because they know right now Trump's numbers are dropping like a rock. And as these bills begin to take shape and become enacted, more people are going to be turning away from Trump. You know, if you are a Trump supporter and you rely on food subsidies like SNAP and you're on Medicaid or Medicare, well, now you've lost your food subsidy, and it'll be unlikely you'll be able to get the same level of care that you received prior to these cuts. So more people are going to turn away.
You know, I want to feel bad for a lot of these people, but a lot of these people voted for Trump. Okay, because when you actually look at the system itself, the majority of the people that are utilizing that system don't look like you or I. Okay,
Right.
so a lot of those people that are going to be hurt, they're going to be hurt, and these are his own constituents. These are the people that voted for him. A lot of them.
Well, what's going to happen with these people? Some of these people are going to be forced into the poorhouse. Some of them are going to be put in the ground because they're not going to be able to get access to the health care that they need. And I was watching a documentary yesterday called Ants and Grasshoppers. And what that is about, the country of Malawi in Africa, they have been undergoing things like severe drought. And it is all related to climate change. Well, two of the women came here to this country and they visited farms in this country. And of the farms that they visited, almost all of them said that they were having financial difficulty. Why? Trump's trade wars. America is one of, if not the largest, one of the largest producers of soybeans. We used to send hundreds of millions of tons of soybeans to China. Now with the tariffs, China's not buying those soybeans. So for these farmers who are producing these soybeans, there's no market. What we have is a glut of soybeans, lowering the market price for their soybeans. Now, if you're not making a profit, how do you pay for your home, your land? How do you pay for farm equipment? How do you pay for seed? These farmers are going to be driven off of their farms. And maybe this is part of Trump's larger agenda. Because if you think about, he just invited South African farmers to come into this country.
Oh yeah. What's it? I think the number's up to like 50. I think it's up to 50 or more of them, right? How the hell are they refugees? This is what I can't understand. So their ancestors stole and took the land from the Africans in South Africa. So now the predecessors, right now, they want to take their land back. And now they're the bad guys because they want to take back what was taken from them.
Well, yeah, that's basically the story. But, there is no genocide as Trump has been trying to portray. In fact, the other day when the South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa, visited him in the White House, Trump talked about a genocide of white farmers, which, of course, is not true. There is no reporting of this because it's simply not happening. But one of the things Trump did, he showed some videos to try to illustrate his point. Unfortunately, the videos he was showing was from Congo and not from South Africa. People familiar with the ongoing conflict in Congo recognize, wait a minute, that's not South Africa, that's here. And the media has reported on the fact that Trump falsely made false claims and then put up a false video. But I mean, in terms of these farmers who are going to be driven off their farms, is this Trump's plan to give some of these now so-called South African farmers who are fleeing what they deem oppression? Is he going to give them some of these farms in America from these farmers that are no longer able to pay their bills, to pay for the land, the seed, the equipment, and everything else that goes into farming?
You said the right word, brother. Pay the bills. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Chantel Davis from Willie Mae's Place and Legacy Vines Winery, located in Gilbert, Pennsylvania. We're the only restaurant and winery experience where we pair delicious homemade scratch kitchen Southern comfort food with delicious homemade wine. All of our tastings will include some type of food and wine portion pairing, so definitely check us out. You can visit us at williemaysplace.com, legacyvineswinery.com, and also follow us on our socials, Willie Mae's Place Restaurant. Hope to see you soon.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. That was Willie Mae's. It's a pretty good restaurant, and the food is actually very, very good. If you haven't been down there, go down there and check it out. She's right down there in Gilbert. Easy to get to on 209. My brother, we was into Africa, South Africa.
Yeah, we're talking about the situation with these white farmers who claim to be fleeing oppression in South Africa. You know, I watched the interview or the segment on the news where Trump was basically attacking the South African president. And I had hoped that he would be more forceful. I'm talking about Cyril Ramaphosa, the South African president. He would be more forceful with Trump and let him know, you know, Mr. Trump, historically, it was your people that came to South Africa, your people that came to the motherland and killed countless Africans. We will never be able to number the number of Africans killed by Europeans in their pursuit of control of Africa. You have one Englishman by the name of just give me a second. I'm suffering from old age. So
is that one of the reporters from BBC?
No. I'm talking about he set up a scholarship. His name is Cecil Rhodes. Cecil Rhodes went to Southern Africa in the 19th century. He wanted to expand the British Empire. So he goes down into Southern Africa to Zimbabwe. He killed so many people in Zimbabwe that he changed the name of the country to Rhodesia, named it after himself. And he established a company, him and another gentleman, I can't remember his name. They established a diamond company called De Beers, the largest diamond manufacturer in the world. The Africans, of course, the indigenous Africans did not benefit in any way from the production of diamonds. In fact, it was to their detriment because these diamonds now are so valuable that these Africans have to be subjected to x-ray to make sure that they're not swallowing diamonds, cavity surgeons to make sure they're not smuggling diamonds from their country that they're mining. But if they're found, they're prosecuted.
Well, I tell you that's a good segue into that country we were talking about, Burkina Faso, and that brother was not having it. I'm telling you, he's down there and he's just not having it, not at all. So I think I got a little something on him. I think, and let me see if I could bring it up about that brother in Burkina Faso. I tell you, I'm not as fast as I used to be. And it keeps evading me. I keep looking at it, and then boom. All right, I got it. So, just a little something on that, brother.
I'm archiving every distortion. I am Ibrahim Traore, and today I'm pulling off your masks. Yes, you heard correctly. I, whom you call a young military junta leader, whom you brand as a dangerous radical, whom you serve up as an anti-Western dictator, am now telling you the truth. And this time you cannot turn off your microphones. This time you cannot turn away your cameras. This time your editors cannot cut this speech, because the world you monopolize no longer exists. Because millions will hear these words now, without passing through your filters, without being subjected to your distortions, without being muddied by your lies. I am 34 years old. Every day of my life, I grew up with your lies. As a child, I would watch Africa on television. Always the same images. Children with flies, dry lands, weapons, death. This is Africa, they told us. This is what Africa is. And we believed it. We were ashamed of ourselves. We were ashamed of our own lands, of our own people. But then I grew up. I read, I researched, I questioned, and I understood that the Africa you showed us wasn't real. The story you told us was a lie. The fate you imposed on us was a script you had written. For years, how have you portrayed Africa? How have you shown it? How have you sold it to your viewers? As if we were creatures who had no share of humanity, as if we were savages left outside of civilization, as if we were wretches waiting for you to save us. Every day, every hour, every minute, the same story plays on your screens. Hunger, war, disease, corruption, terror, chaos. These are the words that come to mind when Africa is mentioned. In your Africa dictionary, there are no other words. No hope, no success, no development, no resistance, no honor, no pride, no victory. So I ask you, New York Times, Washington Post, Guardian, Le Monde, have you ever made Africa's successes your headlines? How many times have you written about Rwanda's technology miracle? How many times have you shown Ethiopia's reforestation project? How many times have you praised Botswana's democratic success? How many times have you described Kenya's entrepreneurial ecosystem? No, because these don't fit your scenario. Your Africa cannot be successful. It cannot, because then how will you legitimize your exploitation? If it's not in need of help, how will you intervene? If it's not backward, how will you look down on it? Have you ever asked yourselves, has any editor sitting at their desk, any news director in a meeting, any columnist at their keyboard ever thought, why are the people of the world's richest lands poor? Here are the numbers for you, real numbers. Africa owns 70% of the world's cobalt reserves. Your cell phone, your computer, your electric car won't work without cobalt. This cobalt comes from Congo, but Congolese can't afford cell phones. Africa owns 90% of the world's platinum reserves. Catalytic converters, electronic devices, medical implants, they all need platinum. This platinum comes from South Africa, but South Africans are crushed by unemployment. Africa provides 30% of the world's gold production. Mali, Burkina Faso, Ghana, Tanzania. Gold flows like rivers from our lands, but our people swim in poverty. Africa supplies 65% of the world's diamond production. Botswana, Angola, Congo, Sierra Leone, billions of dollars worth of diamonds are extracted, but our miners live on $1 a day. Africa owns 35% of the world's uranium reserves. Niger, Namibia, South Africa. Nuclear plants run on our uranium. Paris lights burn with our uranium, but our villages have no electricity. And you still ask, why is Africa poor? No, the right question is, how was Africa kept poor while being so rich? Here's your answer. Colonialism didn't end. It changed shape. You used to come and occupy our lands. Now you come and establish companies. You used to take by force. Now you make agreements. You used to rule with the whip. Now you rule with credit. Let me give you concrete examples. With numbers, names, dates, but you'll never write about these. Glencore, Swiss-based mining giant, extracting cobalt in Congo. 2022 revenue, $256 billion. Tax paid to Congo, $500 million. That's 0.2%. Is this justice? Rio Tinto, British-Australian mining giant, extracting bauxite in Guinea, 20 million tons annually. What's left for Guinea? Environmental pollution and cancer. Total, now Total Energies, French oil giant, extracting oil in Angola, Nigeria, Congo. 2022, profit, $36 billion investment in Africa, dirty pipelines, Anglo-American, founded in South Africa but now in London. Diamonds, platinum, iron, taking everything. What it left in South Africa, 6 million unemployed miners. And these are just the tip of the iceberg. What about the invisible, the secret deals, the offshore accounts, the transfer pricing tricks? Every year, $88 billion in illegal money flows out of Africa. Who writes about this? Every year, $45 billion in aid comes to Africa. Everyone writes about this, but no one says Africa is not the continent receiving aid, it's the continent giving aid.
Sorry about that, brother. I have to bring us back in. Gotta bring us back in. Yeah. That was kind of powerful from that young man. You know, I look at that young man and it makes me proud to say I'm African anything. African American, African Brit from Brazil, African anything. And I look at brothers like that, it reminds me of the Marcus Garvey and that Marcus Garvey movement. Even Malcolm X's mother, she was a hell of a woman before they put her into a mental institution, but she taught her kids so much. Like Malcolm X, she taught us so much about dignity and respect. And when I look at that brother, that's all I see is dignity and respect. It's like it makes me want to stand up and hold my chest up and say, hey, maybe I need to take a trip to Burkina Faso. and see what's actually going on there, you know?
I think that he comes in the mold of a number of African leaders. You know, if you go back to 1960, there was Patrice Lumumba,
Mm-hmm.
who was the first democratically elected prime minister of the Congo. He was demanding pretty much some of the same things that Captain Traore is demanding now. And of course, America and others, the colonial powers, went to Congo, paid off some of them around him, some of the people that he elevated. Mobutu Sese Seko was Joseph Mobutu when Patrice Lumumba was elected prime minister. It was Patrice Lumumba that elevated Joseph Mobutu to the rank of colonel in Fourth Republic. And it was to him that the Americans went and said, listen, you get rid of Lumumba and you have the Congo for yourself. And then you had Jomo Kenyatta in Ghana, who also was a Pan-Africanist who wanted Africa for Africans. And, you know, you mentioned Malcolm X. So if you go back, Malcolm started an organization called the Organization African States, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Malcolm also wanted to see Africa united, to see Africa's wealth and resources remain in Africa, or if we're going to export our resources, export them at a fair, equitable, and market price.
Yeah.
That's never happened.
Well, they just, pretty much these countries have been using Africa like the ATM. They slide in, take what they want, and slide back out with a whole bunch of resources and money, and leaving the African people poor. Leaving a lot of the African people poor. But I guess a lot of the Africans, they're just not taking it anymore. South Africans, they're not having it. We're taking our land back. And then Burkina Faso, and I believe there's like 3 other countries that are joining into the Pan-African. And I think it's going to be like a revolution, man. I think it's just going to expand. The only thing that I don't hope is that they assassinate this brother, because all of the people that we've named, all of the ones that talked about Pan-Africa or uniting Africa, or even uniting Africans around the world, they've had very short lives, man.
Well, I think we're in a different time now. I think that's something that people aren't taking notice of, is the fact that many of the conditions now are some of the same conditions that existed prior to the start of both World Wars I and II. I've been reading some articles in New York Times and online. There are a number of countries in Europe that are looking to grab land. And this is something that is happening across the board. In Israel. Israel is not fighting Hamas. Israel is clearing the land and is taking more of it. The borders of Israel are going to expand. In places like Romania, Hungary, these folks are looking to expand beyond their borders. Everybody needs resources, more land to grow crops, water, and other minerals that they require, to maintain their economy. So when you have this sort of land grab mentality, eventually what happens is it leads to conflict. This is what we saw in World War I, which led to a global war. And we saw the same thing happen, 20 years later with World War II. And we see some of the same things on the rise now. This ultra nationalism. This isn't new. This is what Mussolini was. This is what Hitler was. So
hey, you ever watch Star Trek?
I wasn't a Trekkie, but I've watched some shows.
I'm a Trekkie, right? And on the Star Trek, they got this group of people call themselves the Borg. You ever heard of the Borg?
The Borg, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what the Borg do: is they go from planet to planet. They take all of the resources and they take the people, and either you assimilate or they kill you. So this is kind of what's going on now. It's like, even we're going to go in there, we're going to take all your resources, and you can assimilate with us, or we're just going to kill you. But
Right.
either way, we're just going to go in there and take it. We don't want to do trade with you. No, we don't want to trade with you. We don't want to do that. We're just going to go in there like Vikings, like barbarians, like the savages, and we're just going to take what you got because we want it.
Well, you know something? A lot of movies, modern movies, show you in a fictionalized way what happened. What happened in Africa, what happened here in this hemisphere, what happened throughout the world. There was a movie, and there's these mining companies going to outer space, and they find a planet that has all of the resources that they need. However, this planet is inhabited by these big blue creatures, right? I can't think of the name of the movie right now.
And they fly around, and yeah, I know the name of the movie too.
Right, I can't think of the name of it, but it was a blockbuster movie. In fact, they just had a second one come out a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And I got it right on the tip of my tongue, and I can't remember.
Right. It'll come to us. But they showed you how they traveling in spaceships now, but before it was just, wooden ships guided by the wind. And they would travel around the world, and they would come in contact with these people, study them to determine what their weaknesses were, and then attack them at their weakest, at their weaknesses.
Right.
Showed in a fictionalized form in this movie, but this is very much reality. This is what happened throughout Africa. This is what happened in this continent when Columbus showed up. We call him a hero, but Columbus, was a murderer, a mass murderer. This man today would be prosecuted for genocide, for crimes against humanity.
Right.
And, this movie just highlights what happened.
All right, put a marker on the book, so we're gonna pick this up next week. All right, you just let me know what topics we're gonna get into, so I can do the research. I can play Terry, and I can pull up video and clips and this like this is where we'll have a good conversation about. This way we can show the audience what we're actually talking about.
Okay.
All right, my name is Kendall Stevenson, and this is my man. He's the analyst. He's a political analyst. As you can see, he can break things down. So on Thursday night, tune into Genesis Radio. Check out what he's got to say. He's got some good things he want to say. All right. And don't forget about August 17th, I believe it is, Unity in the Community.
Yes.
Just go on Facebook, type in Unity in the Community. It'll pop up, and support them. All right. They're doing something good for the community. All right. So again, this is Kendall Stevenson with my man, Ronald Yates, the analyst, and we're going to say peace. So we're out.